So James McCann got into it the other day with Willy Adames, and as a team that has clashed with the Brewers this year, I can unbiasedly say getting mad at a bat flip in 2024 while down 9-1 is the most loser shit known to man. If James wants to do things the right way, why don't you look at your contract and then we'll talk about moral high ground. Boy, I hate to be the team that's paying him. Episode number 48 of the Mets Weekly Podcast, 60 minutes of brutal honesty. Roll that catchy intro music. All right, so as for your usual house cleaning, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly channel for the premiere of this very podcast every single Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Follow us on Twitter, TikTok, as well as all of our individual links that are in the description. Also, make sure to go to all of those platforms right after every single game this season for instant takeaways and reactions from our own Frank About Sports called the Mets Frankly Post Game. I would say remotely, for the most part, it's been a positive week in Mets land. I think that they have definitely given us a little bit more hope as compared to the 0-5 start.
I think remotely is kind of an understatement. Like, we just went into Atlanta and we took them down. The Mets were playing great baseball in Atlanta. I am a little bit worried about the volume that, these starters are giving us. But, Jose Butto has been a diamond in the rough. I've been completely proven wrong. Like, Jose Butto needs to be in this rotation for the foreseeable future.
I mean, definitely wasn't to have a slugfest with the Atlanta Braves and, go to toe-to-toe with one of the toughest offenses in all of baseball. But we saw a lot of guys step up, especially on the pitching side. Obviously, Butto, but a lot of these guys that they just called up, the Tyler Jays of the world and Cole Sulcers and Reed Garrett is, becoming just amazing. So they've just had a lot of guys stepping up, and it's been definitely encouraging to see compared to years past where there's been the opposite, where it's like we have a bunch of pitchers who we don't want to come to games to get called up. They've been getting a lot of contributions from a lot of different people.
I mean, let's just jump right into it. For the first half of games this week, the Mets traveled to Atlanta for a 4-game set with the Braves. As the Mets' all-time Achilles heel, something was just a little bit different this time around. In the series opener, former Brave Julio Teheran made his Mets debut, and it did not go well, only going 2 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts on 68 pitches. Teheran's cutting action fastball sat at 88 to 89 and top 92 miles an hour, struggling to keep the ball on the ground and registering 8 total whiffs to end his day. But the Mets offense fought back, down 4-1, 2 on, nobody out in the 5th. Brandon Nimmo launched a massive 3-run shot to right, his first of the year, to tie the game at 4. Fast forward to the 7th, Brandon Nimmo answered the call once again, slamming a solo shot to the center field shrubbery with his second home run of the game to tie it once again. In the 8th, DJ Stewart got his first hit of 2024, and it was a big one. A 2-run shot to right to give the Mets a 7-5 lead. Brandon Nimmo would add to it once again with an RBI single, his 4th hit of the game, to make it 8-5 Mets, but the Braves will never go down silent. Drew Smith walked in a run to make it 8-6 in the 8th. Michael Harris made it a 1-run game in the 9th, following an incredible catch by Mets outfielder Tyrone Taylor at the warning track, as the Mets eventually held on by the skin of their teeth to take the series opener 8-7. On Tuesday, Adrian Hauser would make his second start of the year, laboring through 5 innings pitched, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout on 95 pitches. Hauser's fastball sinker mix sat at 91 to 92 and top 93, registering 6 total whiffs to end his day. The Mets would find themselves down 6-0, but the Bats would fight back once again. Fast forward to the 8th, Mets slugger Pete Alonso crushed a 3-run homer, his 3rd of the year, to cut the lead in half. And then in the 9th, Omar Narvaez would knock in a run on an RBI double to make it 6-4 Braves. Starling Marte would ground out to bring in another to make it 6-5. The Mets would get the tying run on for Pete Alonso, but Braves closer Raciel Iglesias would strike out the Mets slugger to notch the save, as the Mets' late rally falls short for the Braves to take Game 2 of the series. The 3rd game of the 4-game set would be postponed due to rain, making Thursday the series finale, where Jose Quintana made his 3rd start of the year, but the Mets' bats would strike early and often. Brett Beatty would plate the first run on an RBI single in the 1st. Brandon Nimmo would make it 2-0 on an RBI RBI double, and Starling Marte would reach on an error to make it 3-0 in the second. The floodgates would continue to open in the third inning. Francisco Alvarez an RBI double to make it 4-0. DJ Stewart stays hot with a 3-run homer to make it 7-0 Mets. The Braves would get a few back in the fifth to finish Quintana's day. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts on 100 pitches. Quintana's fastball sat at 89-90 and top 92 miles an hour at 32% usage, registering 10 total whiffs. And then the Mets bats completely took over. Alvarez RBI groundout, McNeil 2-run single, Nimmo RBI triple, and then Nimmo scored on a wild pitch to make it 12-3 Mets. And to cap it off, as the Braves waved the white flag, placing former Met Luis Guillorme on the mound, and Tyrone Taylor would deliver the final blow with a pinch hit grand slam as the Mets annihilate the Braves 16-4 in the series finale. The Mets offense outscored Atlanta 29-17 in the series, taking a 3-game set in Atlanta for the first time since July of 2022.
I definitely want to focus mostly on that Tehran game, because if you guys watched the last episode, we talked about, going into this Atlanta series, this whole 15 games in 14 days, the Mets were resting people in Cincinnati. No one's allowed to work back-to-back games. And here you have Julio Tehran making his Mets debut, and he doesn't even get out of the third inning. And you say, okay, so now it's a bullpen game for the Mets, and the Mets don't have their best relievers. So how the heck are they going to pull this one off? And like I talked about in the open, but you have this, Reed Garrett has been phenomenal in this role, multi-innings. You're getting so many different guys stepping up. And then the offense, they just kind of kept staying with it. They didn't let the game get out of hand. They're slowly pegging away, and they somehow pull that game out. It got really close, though. I mean, the cameraman thought, Marcell Ozuna hit a home run.
Personally, I almost threw up. I'm not going to lie. When I saw it,
I literally looked away from the screen. I was like, God damn. I literally was like completely unengaged.
Yeah, and then I heard he made the catch.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Travis d'Arnaud hits a huge line drive. Like, that's the game. But, somehow they hold on. So that was awesome. But even in that second game, I mean, yes, it ends 6-5, but this game was 6-0 going into the 8th inning. And I just think that, showing them resiliency, that fight, to at least get a close against the Braves closer, Raisel Iglesias, getting a couple runs on him is not easy to do. And you know what? Yes, they had their opportunities. Hauser, he still hasn't been able to quite get settled yet and kind of be that. And again, we're not expecting him to be great, but we do expect a little more out of that. And then the last game is just like, who is this team? Like, what was where did that come from? I mean, you just had everybody contributing. I mean, DJ Stewart, he had a big series in Atlanta. I mean, there's no way around it. He had a couple of big home runs. At least he's doing something, because last episode I was saying he's literally doing nothing. At least he was, being a designated hitter, not just drawing walks, actually hitting home runs. So that was very encouraging to me. And then again, you just had everyone stepping up. Alvarez, McNeil finally had a big game. You had, even Bader had a couple of hits. Like, everybody contributed. It was 16 runs on 16 hits. You had some walks in there too. So they just had so many base runners that they were able to finally just string those hits together, because as we're going to get to, the runners in scoring position has been a struggle for a few of the guys on this team, which kind of leads to a whole team-wide issue. But it was nice to finally be on the other side of a Braves blowout, in Atlanta. It's just very encouraging, because that's not something that happens. Whether it's at any point in the season, whether the Mets are in it, Mets are out of it, whatever, that doesn't happen. And again, they weren't facing the Braves' best starter, but you face a guy like Tyler Matzik, who's been a good reliever for the Braves for years. And, they were able to kind of get a few runs off of him. So I think all in all is encouraging. The Braves' defense was looking too good. So I did not have high expectations or high hopes going into that Braves series. I thought it was going to be pretty ugly. Yes, one game did get rained out, but for them to win it, with who they had available and everything like that, I thought that really showed some resiliency and some fight, which I'm glad that this team has, because in a long season, you're going to need that kind of fight to overcome a lot of these things.
I want to just extend what you said about DJ Stewart, right? I mean, he was kind of looking like, a more Vogelback type DH thus far. We knew he was going to get his first hit. We knew that they would get some hits. He was walking a lot, and he really hit 2 like big homers. My thing with DJ Stewart is he's playing really well right now. If JD Martinez's back is going to be an issue this year, I really want to see more of DJ Stewart playing well. It would make me feel a lot more comfortable in a kind of worst case scenario. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but to take 2 out of 3 in Atlanta, the Mets last year don't do this. The Mets don't win games like the first game. We don't win that game last year. We lost 3 of those games in a row last year in June. It wasn't a perfect series. I do think the bullpen could be strengthened a little bit. Julio Teheran, I would have been fine if we stuck him in AAA. Obviously, he opted out of his contract. To steal that Teheran game, it was such a blessing. Hauser got rocked around. It's the Braves. It is what it is. And then later, I think, when we get into Senga and AAA, I think I'll talk about, I think there's a perfect role Hauser can fill for this team. Quintana did well. Like, I know he gave up 3 runs in that 6th inning. Like, to hold the Braves scoreless through 5 while we're just keep scoring, that against a team like the Braves, that is impressive. To hold the Braves to 3 runs and get into the 6 innings, especially guys throwing really low 90s, you know what you're going to get with him. And I think that's really important when you're filling out a rotation. I do wish Edwin Diaz got the save opportunity for game 1. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. We won the game, but that's not a decision I would have made personally. I think when you're in a position to win a game with Julio Teheran on the mound against the best team in baseball, arguably, you have to put in your $100 million closer because you don't know if you're going to have that opportunity the next day. But obviously it didn't matter. And I'm just so happy with the series. Like I said, it wasn't a perfect series, but the Mets are showing a lot of just vibes that I don't feel personally that they gave me last year. And, I really do think this team maybe could be in a wild card race.
At the end of the day, I mean, we went into this Brave series basically with no expectations and expecting pretty much the worst. This was a team that, even though it started to play a little bit better, they started off 0-5. Their bullpen was completely taxed. We had Julio Teheran beginning the series for us, the former Brave. We don't know. We had fears of him being a double agent or some shit. This Mets team basically showed us that no matter if they are down 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, they will fight back, whether they die trying. And that was something that I really think that we needed to see firsthand. And the fact that we saw it firsthand against Atlanta, the team that has owned you forever. I mean, since the 90s, before the 90s, they have owned us forever. And to see that happen in Atlanta, in their house, to come all the way back. The first game, you completely come back. Second game, you fall short, but you showed life at the end. And then the third game, they didn't really fight back. They fought them and knocked them out. And that was very, very impressive. It was kind of funny. I will say that Luis Guillorme's first appearance of the year was on the mound against us. That was really funny to me. I just want to add that. That is funny. They showed that they can be a relentless team. Not to mention, again, Pete Alonso, it's good to see him back. It's good to see him kind of coming around a little bit. I think that at the beginning, when he was in that little cold streak at the beginning, obviously the offense was suffering, but we also saw him over swinging a lot. We definitely saw him pound the ball into the ground a lot, kind of screw up the launch angle a little bit, which was a little bit concerning, let's just say that. When he does get his pitch to hit, when he is right, and it looks like he's starting to get right in the box. Last year, we started to kind of see him more of the home run strikeout type of player. This year, he's making a little bit more contact as compared to last year. He wasn't chasing, but a lot of swing and miss last year. He had a little bit of a foundation to go off of where he was making contact. He was getting a few base hits when he wasn't comfortable in the box. Then he was able to see pitches a little bit better, and now he's able to produce a little bit more power. And then hopefully with that bat coming up from the minors who they signed before opening day, hopefully it'll be even better and he'll get more pitches to do that. But it's good to see Alonso come around. I could carry this into the Royals series as well, but I'll bring it up here now. It seems like everyone's kind of breaking their cold streak except Francisco Lindor. I'm not saying that I'm ready to go for Lindor's head like most of these fans are. What I will say, the quality of contact has been very weak, but eventually he really has to get it going. Standing ovation or not, he has to get it going.
He has a 326 xWOBA. That's
He does. Putting some good contact in the ball, he's just not launching it. Like the sweet spot, what is it? Sweet spot percentage? He's in the bottom, 10% in that? Or something?
Yeah.
Like the quality contact is dog shit.
Yeah, no, like the hits that he's gotten are technically no doubter hits, but they're bloops. He's getting jammed and it's going to the opposite field when he's batting left-handed.
The
so
quality
it's
of contact's just not there.
Exactly.
It just
he's
isn't.
getting hits. The X they expected it, sure, but the actual exit velocity, there's nothing there.
Oh no, the EV is there. The quality of contact is. Quality of contact is like when he's getting under it or over it.
Oh well, yeah, but I think the uppercut on the left side compared to the level straight on the right side, just it's getting pretty exaggerated at this point. That he looks like two different players from the two sides.
I think there's something to be said. Like theory, obviously, this is a great thing. With Lindor struggling, it seems like he's trying just to put the ball in play, and I think that's really evident by his strikeout rate, which is twice as low as last year right now. It's at 10.3%. Really, it's just put the bat on the ball and hope that something good happens. I think it just goes to show how uncomfortable he is with his left-handed swing.
I don't know if it does affect it, but he did have that elbow procedure, the loose body thing. I don't know if he's still recovering from that, but like from the left side, he had, what was it, the right elbow from the left side. I don't know how much that affects it. That's the thing.
But he got the surgery to improve, to get better. He had a great year while battling that. So
yeah, I know.
I mean, then why'd you get the procedure if it made you worse?
I mean, the throws look fine. Like his arm strength looks fine. Yeah.
Fine. But offensively, it's like he had that great year with the elbow bother. I mean, he said the whole year he had it. So it's weird.
I'm going to make a bold claim. Lindor 2 homers tomorrow night.
That will be before this comes out, so we'll know right away if that is right. But no, I mean, overall, when you look at this series, the Mets and the Braves, I mean, especially recently, this is the equivalent of the Globetrotters versus the Generals. I mean, that's kind of how it's been for the last few years in recent history. The Braves have owned us. And it was good to see us leave Atlanta with the final gut punch of putting 16 on the freaking board. That was awesome. I think they've handed us about 2 or 3 blowouts every single year. Like, they blow us out a good amount of time. To finally do that to them, to give them a taste of their own medicine. First of all, with the Braves, you get no sympathy from me, but it was just so satisfying to leave that god-awful, disgusting pit slob of a stadium with a 16 spot on the scoreboard. Let's just say that.
There's something wrong with that stadium. Like, I'm being serious. That stadium is devilish. I genuinely think that there is a devil magic in the air it's blooper. I'm telling you, it's blooper.
Because like they didn't have that mascot at one point, and then they bring in blooper, and then all of a sudden they're like the god.
No, it used to be Nats Park. Like in 2019, it was Nats Park. Nats Park was the haunted house. Now Truist Park, I guess Truist Park always has been a haunted house, but this place, it is the most unpredictable baseball game.
It's a launch pad. It's a launch pad.
Park. It is so unpredictable. No lead is safe. Nothing is safe in that ballpark. It is hilarious.
Any swing can produce ridiculous contact in that ballpark. I don't know what it is, but it's just a ridiculous statement. I don't even know at this point. But you know what? It was good to leave there with a victory, and we don't even have to go there until September, which is great. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them for a long time. Hopefully we're not in the midst of a playoff race when we're there, but...
Wait, is it the final 3 games of the season?
I don't think... It may be like the second to last or third to last.
Wait, let me check.
Is this like 2022?
Like down to the final series. The Mets need 1 win to clinch the wild card. While the Diamondbacks are playing the Dodgers.
And then Severino gets blown up and then makes excuses like Max Scherzer. Now, again, overall, great series. As for the usual that we get from the Braves, I was very, very impressed. And then we get to the second half of games this week, where the Mets would fly home for a 3-game set against the red-hot Kansas City Royals. And on Friday night, Luis Severino got the start and was solid, with the only blemish being solo shot by old public enemy Salvador Perez in the second to make it a 1-0 Royals game. Severino went 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts on 90 pitches. Severino's fastball sat at 95 to 96 and top 97 at a 42% usage, registering 7 total whiffs to end his day. But the offense would jump all over former Met Michael Wacha. Brandon Nimmo would answer Salvi in the third with a RBI double to tie the game up at 1. Jeff McNeil would knock in the lead run with an RBI single. DJ Stewart would add to it on an RBI bloop single to make it 3-1 Mets. In the 5th, Brett Beatty knocked a 2-run double to right center to make it 5-1, and Pete Alonso would launch a solo shot in the 8th, his 4th of the year, to produce 6 unanswered runs and lead the Mets to a Game 1 victory. On Saturday afternoon, Sean Manaea made his 3rd start as a Met, and it was an afternoon to forget. 3 and 2/3 innings, 9 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts on 89 pitches. Manaya's fastball sat at 92 to 93 and topped 94 miles an hour at a 48% usage, registering 13 total whiffs to end his day. Following an additional costly error by Starling Marte, the floodgates would open to eventually make it an 11-4 game. The Mets offense fought back late, headlined by Pete Alonso's second home run of the game and a solo shot by Starling Marte, but it wasn't enough as the Royals took the second game of the series 11-7. On Sunday afternoon, following the retirement of all-time Met Dwight Gooden's number 16, Jose Butto was called up for the start, and he was brilliant. 6 scoreless innings, 2 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts on 91 pitches. Butto's fastball sat at 93 to 94 and topped 96 miles an hour at a 41% usage, registering 16 total whiffs to end his day. This game would remain scoreless until the 8th as Royals reliever Chris Stratton blew up, issuing 3 walks, leading to a swinging bunt RBI by Harrison Bader to give the Mets the lead, and an additional walk to bring in another run to Brandon Nimmo. Edwin Diaz would come on for the 9th after making 1 mistake to Vinny Pasquantino, but he got the job done to secure the save and the Mets' 3rd consecutive series victory. The Mets now sit at 7-8, 3rd place in the National League East, 2 games out of the division as they continue this 6-game homestand against the Pirates on Monday night with Adrian Hauser on the mound. This also means that the Royals have never beaten the Mets in a series.
With that first game, we talked about how the Mets had scored 16 runs on 16 hits. And this game, they scored 6 runs on 14 hits. So, it could have been more, honestly. Like, they let plenty of guys on base, but they were able to get away with it because Severino and the bullpen was able to kind of hold it down. So, at least that was okay. Again, encouraging to see that McNeil had a big game, especially with how much he struggled, like when the Mets were in that 0-5 slide. The Alonso, Beatty, Alvarez combo has been beautiful. If Francisco Lindor could get it going, I mean, that could be like a 3-6, and especially if the old man ever gets involved too. But you could all of a sudden just have a very nice string of hitters back to back that would really equal some good offense. With Nimmo getting on the top, and we'll see what happens with Marte. I don't know how long he'll stay in that 2-hole. Like we've seen, he's definitely better than last year. But he's still not 2 years ago, Marte, that was deserving of the 2-hole. So I am kind of curious to see how they kind of align that when it's all said and done. They have everyone going. But, that game with Manaea, one of the things that really stood out to me was the command was a big problem. And, Manaea, he had the 3 walks, but it was guys that you can't be walking. Like when you're walking guys like Blanco and Fermin, and those guys are getting on base for the top of the order for Bobby Witt, for Perez, Velasquez, like that's when it just becomes impossible. Like those are the guys that you have got to get out, because if you put them on base for the top of the order, like it just makes it so hard to be successful. He really just wasn't himself. Was it the catcher? Maybe, maybe. Like so far, the early returns have not been good on the numbers as far as how the team's performed, but we'll give it time. It's only been a few weeks, but if we're a couple months in and this is still a trend, that's pretty interesting to me. I think that with the pitch com now, it's kind of tough. Like you saw the game with Severino where he's just pressing the button on the belt and he's firing. So, sometimes the pitcher has a lot more say with the pitch comp. Sometimes the catcher has more say. So we'll see. I think all in all, it could have been a lot of things. It has been like windy. So I don't know if that, because Manaea, we talked about with the different arsenal that he has, if he's slightly off, it makes it tough. So I don't know if since he's requiring a lot of that horizontal movement, if that wind could kind of affect any of that, why his command was just so off. Because what's happening is that him and a lot of other Met pitchers like Severino are finding themselves in these 3-2 counts constantly, 3-2 count, 3-2 count, so that it's always like 5 innings, 1 run, but it's always 95 pitches because so many at bats are 3-2 counts, 3-2 counts, and it's just like, again, these hitters that they really should be more aggressive in throwing strikes who aren't that great, it could just save you some pitches. Then if you want to be a little more creative with the better hitters, you can. But I think just when it comes to strategizing that, it's just been interesting to me just how many hitters have just being walked. Like I think it was the first game where Adam Frazier kept getting walked. He's like one of the worst hitters on the team, and they walked him twice. So I just thought that it was just very weird to me. And then he gets hit by a pitch in another game. So I'm not sure what's going on there with the pitching as far as like with all that. But this last game, Harrison Bader gets his first RBI. Of course, it was a swinging bunt. I mean, that's the only way he could drive in runs if he bunted, because that's the kind of hitter he is offensively. But here's my thing. Here's a bold take, I guess you could say. Whether JD Martinez is ready to go, JD Martinez is not ready to go, Zach Short needs to be sent down for Mark Vientos. I think that, if we're starting Zach Short just because he's a right-handed hitter, you might as well just start Mark Vientos at third base. And just call it even. I mean, Vientos is not a good defensive third baseman, but Zach Short ain't amazing. You know what I mean? And even then, Wendell has been so bad that I'd probably rather have Vientos make a start at third over Joey Wendell. And I think I'd rather have Mark Vientos DH instead of Tyrone Taylor. And then what you could do is that I found it interesting that when Bader had that opportunity with the bases loaded 2 outs, they had DJ Stewart on the bench and did not pinch hit. I think that if you start Mark Vientos, you could and put Taylor on the bench, you could pinch hit Bader and then put Taylor into the game, because Taylor, he's been taking over, in right field, and Marte's DHing, so you can't really move those guys around too much. So I think that just the roster construction, I just don't see why Zach Short should be making starts. I think it's it was a good story and all, but he's just not bringing it. I think, because the Mets face the left-hander and McNeil and Beatty has to sit, but they bring him in later. Just because Beatty's left-handed, you start Zach Short, and it wasn't even because he needed a rest day, So I just think that you could just overall get more value out of Mark Vientos, whether JD Martinez is here or not.
Again, we've talked about it before. Wendell and Short probably shouldn't be here at the same time, but if they are actually looking at, having 2 infielders here, I think that they probably would, instead of Vientos, they probably would go to Jose Iglesias in AAA. I just don't see Mark Vientos coming up here at all unless JD Martinez gets moved to the IL. I think that there probably was a consideration if DJ Stewart didn't get going. I personally just don't think that Mark Vientos is in the third base equation at all for the Mets. Obviously, they signed Wendell. Wendell's here. They brought up Zach Short. Beatty, they obviously are going to give him the leash to play third base every single day. He's been pretty good. There's tons of infielders here that are kind of the bigger consideration compared to Vientos. I feel like Vientos is just kind of in that DH conversation, and he's not really in it with JD Martinez. I don't see that possibly happening.
I think he's going to get moved, Vientos. I don't really see a realistic way to get him some playing time here. I don't see him as a long-term DH here. Personally, no disrespect to him, he's got a lot of power, but I'm just not sure that, he has a lot to prove, and, it's going to be tough.
It took them forever to deal JD Davis, so they might take forever to deal Mark Vientos. But no, I mean, one thing that I would add to you on the Minaya situation, Mets pitching staff, they're top 10 in strikeout rate, but they're also top 10 in walk rate as well. We are probably one of the best teams in this league at allowing multiple base runners per inning. Walks literally just bring up the pitch count in terms of volume, and that's probably the main reason why to hate walks at this current moment. With Mets pitchers, just, there's a lot of high counts. There's a lot of pitches that have to be thrown. And it's kind of weird to me because this pitching staff, they all have quality put away pitches. I don't know why there's just so much of a increase in pitch count so early in the game.
Yeah, the pitchers definitely, I agree, Carson. They have too much of walking the leadoff batter. It just leads to consequences. About Minaya, his velo was way down. He was sitting 91 the whole start. His command was all over the place. He did give up some soft hits. Starling Marte did not help him out whatsoever. Starling Marte's defense has been, for lack of a better word, it's been horrible. He is not the same defender he used to be. And if he weren't hitting right now, I don't think he'd be here. That doesn't excuse Minaya from the start he had. He was not pitching well. I'm not worried about him necessarily. I think he's a high 3 ERA pitcher, and I still really like the acquisition, and he pitched really well the first 2 starts. He's not going to be great every start, but that was really bad. Severino, I need some more volume. You pitched well. You were effective. I need more volume. Severino is definitely pitching well. But I think that he needs to get into the 6th inning next start. And about today, Jose Budo. Oh my God. What a start. Really, what a start. I think he's proving that he is a back-end, serious, legitimate MLB starter, and he should be making starts for us over Tyler McGill. With respect to Tyler McGill, I think he's the more talented, quote-unquote, pitcher. there's a lot of really underrated aspects of Jose Budo that I just wasn't really aware of. Like his vertical approach angle on his fastball is under 4 degrees, which is like that's like near Joe Ryan
Wait,
levels.
hold
Like,
up. Are you for real?
it was 3.9 today. His
Dear
his
Lord.
vertical approach angle is minus 3.9.
Sorry, Frank. This is a nerd explosion here, but that's nuts. Hold up.
Yeah, meaning the ball was crossing home plate at an angle that is very ideal for whiffs.
And like just like from a non-advanced number standpoint, Budo is much more aggressive, and that's why he's the guy that can actually go 6 innings. Everyone else is so busy trying to, paint and do all this other stuff. Budo is just like, okay, here it comes. And in a 0-0 game too, not with a big lead. Bobby Witt down 3-0. I'm going to keep attacking you. I'm not just going to put you on base like everyone else does. That's why he actually goes 6 innings.
Budo's pitch sequencing is really good. I will say that.
I don't think this is an exaggeration. If Jose Budo's throwing that changeup like he did today, this is one of the best changeups in baseball. For the guys who aren't really into the deep analytics, back on the topic of vertical approach angle, with the changeup and the fastball, it's very important. The vertical approach angle difference is very important in generating chases.
Yeah, he got a lot of swings and miss today.
He did, and his vertical approach angle difference between his four seam and his changeup was 3.5. That is otherworldly elite. He got a 55% chase rate on the changeup today. Like, this is a plus changeup, 1,000%.
And he's throwing harder with the fastball than he was before.
He is throwing harder. Hopefully not too hard, because we're seeing all these pitchers. Hashtag say no to velocity.
Yeah, especially him. They need him to be healthy because he's like the guy they have to call up because of all their injuries. So they can't lose him too.
Even watching a guy like Cole Reagans, like he was throwing 90 last year, now he's throwing 100. Like that scares me.
Alonso, he was throwing like 99 and 98. It was insane.
It's scary. It really is scary with what's going on.
And that's what doesn't worry about me about the Mets offense. Obviously, you need JD Martinez here to complete it, but that's another thing that I want to put out there. Cole Reagans is a really good pitcher. He's really, really good. He's going to be a great pitcher for a long time.
And they still got on base quite a bit, though. Like
they did.
A lot of
they did.
where, they missed opportunities.
But he's got some ridiculous put away pitches. Let's just say
like we've seen the Mets offense get like shut down where they're not even getting on base. At least they're getting on base now. It's just a matter of certain guys not coming through with run score position. Like a certain guy doesn't have a single hit yet with the run score position. So
this might sound a bit of an excuse, but the way we stranded runners today was a lot different than the traditional Mets stranding runners. Like it threw out on a sac fly, solid contact against a great pitcher. It was just Reagans. It was Reagans and his defense just showing off. Prayers up to Salvi. Prayers up to you.
I can't believe he was only 33. I thought this man was like 38. I was like, how is he still like only 30? Like, was he like 15 in the World Series? Like, how's he been here so long?
He is a great hitter. He'd be an elite hitter if he didn't chase so much.
I don't think Salvador Perez is that elite of a hitter personally, but like when he comes up to the plate, I'm scared. I don't know why. I'm terrified. This dude
he likes the ballpark.
8 feet tall, like 8 feet wide. He's like Goliath. In no way I'm disrespecting him. It's a compliment. Like this guy is genuinely
he's a monster.
scary to face, even if he's not like that great of a hitter from year to year. You could talk for ages about Salvador Perez, whether you think he's underrated, overrated. He's a very interesting player to talk about. Prayers up to him. Hopefully it's not too serious of an injury, but Jose Budo, to cap it off, I think he's in this rotation for good.
It's what Mendoza said.
Mendoza did say that. That's really nice.
In the process of Mets pitching struggling to get length, they have been forced up to call up some arms from AAA with a taxed bullpen. Some arms were as pedestrian as expected, but there have been some standouts so far. First was waiver claim from last year, Reed Garrett, 6.2 scoreless innings with 3 hits, 2 walks, 11 strikeouts, as the 32-year-old Garrett has displayed a brand new deep pitching arsenal so far this year with a high 90s fastball, hard-cutting slider, high-spin sweeper, screwball-style splitter, and a sinker with plus run. We also got the major league debut of 27-year-old reliever Danel Nunez in Atlanta. The big right-hander went 2 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Nunez's fastball sat at 96 to 97 and topped 99 miles an hour, paired with a high spin slurve style slider and a high 90s changeup. And finally, there was the major league debut of 29-year-old lefty reliever Tyler J. But through 2 appearances, J has pitched 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. J has a low 90s fastball that tops 93 miles an hour, but he prioritizes a low 90s plus run sinker with a gyro style cutter and a sweeping action slider with RPMs that can reach 2,300. Even with an overhauled workload, the Mets bullpen has been great, ranking 8th in earned run average, 2nd in fielding independent pitching, 7th in strikeout rate, 2nd in home runs per 9, and 2nd in wins above replacement. Although Jay and Nunez were both optioned to AAA shortly after, the Mets pitching depth under David Stearns will continue to be a point of emphasis as time goes on this year and into the future.
Deadnell Nunez, kind of nasty, throwing gas. I would be lying if I said I watched every single pitch he threw, but I remember him at spring training. He was nasty. I kind of like this guy. He's got a good arsenal, a lot of vertical movement on the slider, maybe a little bit too much. He's got electric stuff. And Nunez, I'm sure we'll see him again. He pitched really well. Regier might be a legitimate high leverage arm. We were up 4 runs in game 1 against the Royals. I think the first move that Carlos Mendoza made that I was really confident in, I saw, okay, this is the move a good manager would make. He trusts his reliever, who is pitching really well, in a spot against a right-handed hitter after Diekman allowed the runner on second and 2 outs in the 6th. I feel like too many times Showalter, the relievers would just be kept in to finish innings. Felt like a really new school kind of move. I'm happy that they trusted Reed Garrett in that spot. Reed Garrett has been a diamond in the rough. He has been incredible. And I think it might be for real. Tyler J., just what a story. I'm not sure how much he'll be coming up in the future. He is a low 90s guy. He did pretty good yesterday as well, making sure the lead didn't get too far away. It's just a phenomenal story. I'm really happy for him. And then there's more relievers in AAA. We're going to see Grant Hartwig. He's got a nasty sinker. I wonder what kinds of adjustments he's made. There's Shintaro Fujinami, who I would like to say today walked 3 batters and gave up 3 runs. I'm not sure he'll even pitch for the Mets this year. It would be awesome if he could maybe make some adjustments and get his command on point, because we know how electric he can be. We all want to see Nate Lavender for sure. But, in general, I want to see as many of these AAA guys as possible. It's not a perfect bullpen. I've been vocal of this. I think I am pretty concerned about Jorge Lopez. He was throwing 91 sinkers yesterday. He's been getting hit pretty hard. Last year, he still had the stuff, but the command was all over the place. And this year, kind of seems maybe a bit of a flip. He has been effective, but there's things to definitely monitor. It felt like a lot of times under the Showalter and Epler regime, we would stick with relievers. Buck likes his Tommy Hunters. He likes his guys, especially with the new manager. It just seems like we're open to a lot more opportunities to see new guys pitch.
Another thought that you can put out there, Sean Reed Foley just made
Yes.
a minor league rehab today, I believe, was it with Brooklyn? Was it with Low A? Something like that. That's another guy that was considered for the opening day roster. So there's a strong possibility that if he gets back here, if Sean Reed Foley continues to stay healthy, or he can gain a little bit of consistency. You have other, AAA fringe guys that have been very impressive. Hopefully Grant Hartwig can stop hitting batters, and then he would be a fantastic contact manager, because he's got some great ground ball stuff. And usually the Mets would call these guys up just for a body, and they would suck, and then they'd send them right back down. And, they basically just bleed through injuries. They've needed these guys to come through for them because their bullpen has been completely taxed so far earlier into the season. And again, you don't know if it's Stearns. You don't know if it's the Mets not giving these guys a chance when they had other management, but it was very, very encouraging to see. Nate Lavender, I hope to see him eventually. I think that he'll be one of the next guys that does get selected if we do have a tax bullpen at the rate that we're going. Under Stearns, you do feel a little bit more of a comfort with pitching. Even though there are some bumps in the road, we've had some walk issues, some volume issues, it does seem like there's a platform, there's a plan, there's a foundation. They're not just calling up guys to call up bodies, guys who have an arm and have a heartbeat. That seemed like the big way that the Mets would decide it in the past. With Stearns, Stearns, he's hands-on when he needs to, and he's had to be very hands-on with the pitching recently. And I've also just loved this no nonsense as to where if you hurt the team once or you hurt the team twice, you're out of here. We don't ride along with you because you're out of minor league options or something. He just lets you go, trades your ass for cash, get the hell out of here. He's just a very adaptable type of executive, and that's what I really liked. He's very quick on his feet, and I hope that we get that throughout the entire organization going forward. It has been very encouraging for most of these minor league arms.
I think it's impressive that they've put up these great numbers while Michael Tonkin had 2 blow-up outings. So, even with him coming in here just being absolutely terrible twice, a bunch of runs, they still overall have like those great ERA numbers, which is what I love. I love ERA. But I think a lot of it does go to David Stearns. I give him the most credit. I think that, when you look at that list in National League, like the Mets are number 1. You know who's number 2? Milwaukee Brewers. I think that this is kind of what Stearns just does. He finds arms, makes the most out of them, makes, a pitching lab, what have you. One thing that's encouraging to me is that I think that, as the season progresses, if guys get sent down, released, whatever, from other organizations, I think if Stearns sees some other guys he likes, I feel like he's going to bring them on board as well and just continue. And I don't think it's going to come to that point like we've seen it, like you said, in years past, where it's like we are stuck with certain guys. Like, they're here, we have no one else.
He doesn't have any minor league options, so we might as well chill with him.
No minor league options. They were a banker. They were a whatever. Like, we're gonna get someone from the Ducks. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen this time around. I feel like they're actually just gonna go with much more of a quantity approach, that they will have other arms that they like, that they could just, as you've seen, they bring this guy up. Okay, now they bring this guy up, and like, and we'll see. Like Reed Garrett, I hope he is like amazing. That would be huge. I think if we could just get like one guy to be like high leverage, like big time reliever, that would be amazing. Because so far he's been really impressive in those multi-inning outs. I do worry though, like Rod was saying, if he's not a multi-inning reliever, I don't want them to burn him out and then middle of the season the guy, because we've seen them do that with some relievers. I think the one comes to mind is like Robert Gazelman. He was off to a good start, and then the Mets just worked him so bad that he was just done by the time it was all said and done. I don't want to see like the Seth Lugo effect. Like, I want them to just like break him down because he's been so good. I hope they could, like Rod said, like find a legitimate role for him. But I think just, seeing all these guys come up, and like we said, we have more guys on the way. It's a lot to be encouraged by. And, that's how you get through the 162 and stay in the playoff race, is that you're going to use a lot of arms. With rain, with injuries, like you're going to see a lot of different guys. So the Mets having this at their disposal is just going to be absolutely vital to making a real playoff push.
And that's what I mean with this pitching depth. You just don't really seem to be like, oh, this guy's going to be the odd man out. This guy stinks. He's going to get a conglomerate of opportunities. If this guy's on the fringe of the roster and he doesn't perform, it's not going to take much to take him out. And that's what I've really liked Stearns so far. And then also, it also seems like in terms of pitching with Stearns, what he's done so well, the quantity approach has just been so much better as compared to the quality, because it doesn't seem like, well, this guy gets injured, we're done. We're bleeding forever. It always seems like there's a next man up. There's a next guy that he likes, the next guy that he plugs in there. And that is what's very encouraging with David Stearns. And hopefully he gets a little bit more flexibility to do that, with more of a financial bound as compared to Brewers, where you're a bottom 5 payroll.
And that's important because every GM likes their wild card reliever guys. Most of them don't work out. So to have a lot of them and keep giving them a chance, you're more likely to find the one that actually is something.
The top-heavy approach has definitely been something that's gone on with the Mets organization for a long time. Their stars have blown up before. They've had their struggles before, and that's happened, and then they just completely bleed, and it's basically end of time for them in that certain situation. And so when you have just a number of guys that come through that you have made better and you don't make worse and don't stay the same as they were, that's something that Stearns has been known to do. And then also, if they don't, they're on the fringe of the roster, doesn't take much to kick them out.
Instead of giving Dylan Betances a 2-year deal and Jerry's Familia a 3-year deal at high AAV, it's like, let's just get a bunch of arms. This way we just constantly call up, send down, and you're okay. Compared to like, oh, well, we signed these guys. We have nobody else now.
There's no risk. There is no risk.
Exactly.
Only reward. No risk, only reward. Same thing with Julio Teheran. They gave him a major league deal, prorated, non-guaranteed contract. Oh, well, he stunk? Get out of here. We don't have to pay you. Get the hell out of here. You want your release? Have fun. I was kind of surprised as to see that Julio Teheran actually signed that contract, but you know what? Not my issue. Now, with the Mets pitching staff getting the job done so far, there has been still one piece we are waiting for, that being our ace, Kodai Senga, who has been out since the beginning of spring training with a shoulder injury. This week, we did get an update as the Mets transferred Senga to the 60-day injured list, which makes him now eligible to come off the IL on May 27th. Regarding any panic, it seems like late May was the intended return target from the start for the 31-year-old right-hander. Mets manager Carlos Mendoza stated that Senga will be pitching off of a mound real soon and started throwing from 120 feet this week. There still is no timetable for him to begin a rehab assignment, as Senga is expected to make multiple starts after not participating in any spring training games. Regarding any setbacks, the Mets have had every ramp-up checkpoint go as scheduled with the intent to not rush his recovery from his shoulder injury.
So we're looking at June. June will be when Senga comes back. In the meantime, I did mention before this whole plan, with Christian Scott, with H. Hauser, especially when Senga comes back, when it's very likely we roll out a 6-man. My thinking here is Senga at the top, and you have Christian Scott and Acevedo in the 6-man. Hauser is relegated to the 2022 Trevor Williams type role. He will come out of the bullpen in garbage time. He will give you 3 innings, as many innings. He will start an emergency game, a doubleheader. It is what it is, because I think we have 6 starters who are probably a little bit better than Hauser. I think this is a way we can maximize ways to get volume out of our bullpen and ways to get volume out of our starters. Tyler McGill could also do that role. You can have 2 of them. I'm a believer that you need a lot of arms in that bullpen, guys who can give you long relief and high leverage relief. I think there's endless possibilities here, but let's hope that he comes back healthy. He comes back ready to go. There's no need to rush it, especially if we're going to hover around 500 for a bit. There's more than enough time for him to get healthy and come back and us make a playoff run. I wonder what his velocity will be like, especially with the shoulder thing and a lot of these injuries coming into play. But I do think as long as he's commanding his ghost fork low in the zone, below the zone, he's going to be incredibly effective. He started to go way deeper into games for the end of the year. I think when he's healthy, I think he's a top 10 starter in the game. I can't wait to get him back. In the meantime, let's get some more length out of our starters. Christian Scott, I wouldn't be shocked if he's up by the end of the month. He's struck out over 50% of the batters he's faced. This guy he's too good for AAA, and I think
he is. He really is.
He's going to force David Stearns to call him up, and he absolutely deserves it, because I think Christian Scott can easily be a frontline starter. Reminds me so much of Aaron Nola. I think the rotation could be in a great spot come, let's say, the trade deadline. You can reevaluate it. There's a lot of things to be excited about this Mets team right now. They're playing great baseball, and they got some good players coming their way soon.
Most of the problems that the Mets have had from the pitching has been obviously the volume, the walks, and most of that seems to be something that could be fixed when you bring in somebody like Kodai Senga. If he comes back, that brings up probability of the pitching going distance and giving them an extra day. Like I've said, with the 6-man rotation and stuff like that. And then the same thing goes for the guy that we're about to talk about, for the offense.
I think with Senga, the Mets are taking the right approach here. I think it's especially prevalent this year. Obviously, the whole injury thing that's been going on with the top line starters. We're seeing it feels like every day another big time pitcher is out with an elbow, with something arm related. And I think that since what Senga does have is something arm related, they have really got to be very careful with this and just push it back as much needed. I think that it's better to take your time and have him come back to stay back instead of rushing to bring him up to then just lose him, because then it just kind of defeats the purpose. And the fact that this team is number 1 in ERA in the National League without Kodai Senga, and Kodai Senga is quite a bit better than the starters the Mets have right now. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a knock on the guys the Mets have. Senga was just that good last year that he's quite a bit better. So I think that, for this rotation to be, the way it's held up so far, and then, hopefully if Christian Scott is also in the mix, oh my goodness, look out now. We actually have a really nice rotation coming in. And I think the other thing that's just impressive about why the Mets should really take this slow approach is that you look at the records of the team the Mets have played. So in the opening series when they faced Milwaukee, I wasn't big on Milwaukee, and I was like, really, we got swept by them. You see what they've done since that series? They're like 11-4.
That's a Stearns finished product right there. There you
go. All the teams that the Mets have faced are well above 500, and again, the pitching has been this good. So it's like I think they're definitely, even though right now they're still under 500, they're trending in the right direction. But there's still a lot to be encouraged by that. Without Senga, it's exciting to think, wow, how good can they be once Senga is here? And then let's say you add in a Christian Scott. Like it's definitely very interesting. And we're gonna get to the offense next, but there's definitely been some good signs, all things considered, when you think of the situation that they're currently in.
When you see a decent mix of good signs before the good even comes, that is an encouraging sign. And listen, I think that it goes to David Stearns of being able to maximize talent. What you just said, I mean, they are first in earned run average. They are top 5 in nearly every single category, starting rotation to bullpen, whether you're having the volume issues or not. They've been able to figure it out. They've been able to hold down the fort, which is good. And that's something that has really been, the Mets have really lacked. A star player goes down, preferably Jacob deGrom, for many, many years. They've seemed to kind of just fall off the map and just be like, oh, well, this guy went down. We're just going to drop dead. That just doesn't seem to be the situation right now. It's holding up right now. Still plenty of time to go before Senga comes back. And when his injury was announced, I think that there really was not any panic. We kind of saw this coming no matter what. The late May, June return, that was something that I definitely saw no matter what, mainly because elbows are very somewhat predictable. You know what the situation is there. You know how to get it there. Shoulders are very, very tricky. It's not more the fact that shoulders are more serious than elbows, because both of those can be very serious. It's the fact that you don't really know. The elbow is the elbow that can give you a full jolt. With a shoulder, if you need shoulder surgery, good luck going back to what you were. One guy that we can point out that the Mets were attached to, Brandon Woodruff. Well, you don't know how he's going to come back. Obviously, he's going to get a contract. He's going to get a chance because of the history that he's had in the major leagues, but it's very unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to happen. And I'm glad that they are taking this slow, even though the Mets are struggling to get volume from the starting rotation. Do not rush him back. I don't care if the starting rotation gets so taxed, you're still in a race. If you have to draft somebody in June and call them all the way up to the majors, I don't care. Keep Kodai Senga healthy. He is the top gem here. Make sure he is 100%. And they need to make sure that he's 100% healthy when he comes back. And he stays back, like Frank just said.
Especially we know how Senga's, his physical wasn't great. And he has that Tommy John clause in his contract. Don't rush him back, man. Let's take his time. You can see some of our prospects. It's a transition year to see our young guys. So we all know what Senga can do. We all know he's an ace caliber pitcher. So we just got to make sure he's healthy and on top of his game, especially if we want to maximize how much Senga we actually see. And the best way to do that is to give him a full ramp up.
Now, speaking of other missing pieces, you may be wondering one thing about the Mets offense. Where is JD Martinez? Well, after electing to begin the season in the minor leagues to ramp up after signing a week before opening day, Martinez played 2 games last week with Single A Port St. Lucie before stopping action after experiencing regular ramp-up soreness. A few days ago, Mets manager Carlos Mendoza announced that Martinez received a cortisone shot for lower back soreness last Tuesday. The Mets were reportedly hopeful that Martinez could have some movements on Saturday before revealing that the veteran DH will begin swinging the bat once again on Monday after Sunday's game against the Royals. As we all know, the Mets signed JD Martinez to a 1-year, $4.5 million contract that includes deferred payments of $1.5 million a year from 2034 to 2038, with his debut in the 2024 Mets starting lineup still yet to be known. I think that the main question I'm just going to ask you straight up, and then you can go into whatever tangent you want to go on, is what is the concern level for you with JD Martinez? Because we've seen some injury history before with him, before he was a Met.
I think there's always that risk that you take when you sign a guy at that age. Like, there's always that elevated chance for injury. And the thing that is concerning is that this isn't the first time with his back. He's been dealing with back troubles plenty of times these past few years. So for that to come back, no pun intended, I do find that to be concerning. I don't think there's something that's like, oh, he's only out a week or two. It's something that it just show up again, later in the year. All of a sudden, up, and I feel like we saw it was, oh God, what year was that? I think it was 22 when he had the bad back and he still played the second half of the season with the bad back and hit like no home runs. Like his power was just gone, but he played through it. I don't want to see that. I think that, you're here to help us. If you're not 100%, then maybe we do revisit that conversation of, okay, Mark Vientos is here and he is going to play every day, whether it's at DH and those days where he's not DHing, he's at third and Marte's DHing or Alvarez DHing, whatever. Like, there's still got to be a way to still provide offense for the team. And like we've said with Senga, I mean, the offense has been better than I expected it to be, better than I thought it'd be, and that's with Lindor giving them close to nothing. I think that ultimately when you look at the amount of guys that are crossing home plate for the Mets, without JD Martinez, it's more than I thought it'd be. I think that I was expecting this big a year from Brett Beatty. Alonso has been really good. Alvarez has been good. So, I mean, we'll see once all said and done. But similar to the thing with Senga, where it's like, if the guy's not 100% and he's not going to be here to stay here, then again, there's no point rushing him, because I think that, for the Mets to kind of actually make the playoffs and be a little competitive, you need JD Martinez to actually be in that lineup doing things. So I think that if it's something that you're not going to get what you paid for, then you really got to take it slow with him as well.
Yeah, let me say, in terms of the Mets offense, in terms of sustainability, and listen, I'm not going to rain on anybody's parade here. They still need JD Martinez. They still need JD Martinez.
Do, but I mean, considering they've been able
but, we're seeing the run total, and it's like, no, they still need JD Martinez.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit concerned about Jed Lowry.
Jed Martinez.
The back problems don't sound good. Carlos Mendoza made it sound like he was paralyzed the other day. I genuinely am curious if he's like okay. I mean, clearly he's going to swing the bat tomorrow, but Mendoza did say, the ramp up he's been going on, he's taken over 100 live at bats in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy what they said.
That's crazy. What are we doing? I love the Mets, man. The Mets are hilarious.
They're funny. They're a funny team. Yep. They always will be.
Mendoza said at his press conference that JD dealt with the back last year a little bit too. We're taking it slow. We're catching it. We're making sure it's out the way. If it's out the way, he'll be up. He'll be ready to hit. The Mets offense definitely needs him. I agree with you, Carson. I want to tip my cap to Brett Beatty and Francisco Alvarez. That being said, I'm not 1,000% sold on their offensive out. More Brett Beatty. I think Alvarez is a proven power hitter who's going to produce, especially from the catcher position. Defensively, completely different question. Defensively, I love what I'm seeing. He's a better player than he was last year. I think my point stands that the Mets offense needs more protection, especially with the uncertainty of a lot of batters continuing to produce the way they have been, for me, at least, in my personal opinion. We got to give JD his time. His bat's going to be too valuable. I'm sure they will move Marte down after that. They wouldn't. That would be odd.
Alonso needs to bat second. I mean, I really this is just dumb at this point. Like, the guy is just so significantly better.
But he's hit all the home runs in the cleanup position because that's what the power hitters do.
Right. But he's been so just ridiculously better than everyone on the team that he needs to bat more frequently. So Alonso needs to hit second. That's just me.
I mean, if I were running the team, if I were the manager, I would definitely put Alonso second and probably Martinez third and maybe Lindor 4.
Or 8th.
I'd put Lindor 9th, okay? That bum is batting 120 for the $341 million contract, and he's swinging at garbage.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Mike from Socrates. In terms of the concern level, I understand that you always have like these serious injuries with the UCL and the ACL and the Achilles and everything. For me, every time when I hear the back, it instantly makes me think of David Wright, and it gets me really, really scared. No matter what, I will always have concern with that in the back of my mind. For JD Martinez, as for somebody who has been able to basically save their career by being a designated hitter, I'm not too worried in the long term. yet. I also can go to the other side and say that I wouldn't be very surprised if things don't go well and he lands on the IL. And that is when that answered the question, what do you do with Mark Vientos? That's when it opens up that.
I think Mark Vientos can be a good hitter. DJ Stewart is showing you he is a good hitter. He had about 15 plate appearances. And look, I understand people were mad there were big spots he did not come through.
The contact rates are inconsistent, but they're...
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, it's like it was way too small of a sample to say DJ Stewart couldn't hit. DJ Stewart can hit. He can hit for power. He can get on base. DJ Stewart's a much safer pick than Mark Vientos to me. I don't think it's going to work out here. It's a really awkward situation. He's not the long-term solution.
The one thing with DJ Stewart, which, you know, in terms of the approaches that we've seen, he had a really tough time with pitch selection when he was with the Orioles. And I mean, he is, you know, he's in the top 5% right now in chase rate. He's walking a lot. You know, he is being very selective in pitches. Obviously, the swing and miss is still there because we have seen him strike out a lot, but he is hitting really good pitches and making contact. But the contact rates are a little bit inconsistent, but if he can find that kind of consistency, again, I would not be opposed to if JD Martinez is here, DJ Stewart, if he keeps hitting, you can keep him on the bench because I don't think that he needs to play every day to be a successful hitter.
Which Vientos does.
Which Vientos does, obviously, because he's a lot younger. DJ Stewart, I think we've accepted. He's in his 30s. You take what you can get from him.
Also, like DJ Stewart has had a lot more MLB experience. Unless JD Martinez is out for the season with an injury, there is no consistency for him to find at-bats in this lineup.
I mean, listen, I hope that JD Martinez comes back as quick as he can because, like Frank has talked about a lot, runners on base, they're not cashing them in, and that's something that JD Martinez knows how to do. So now it is time for everybody's favorite segment of the week, Studs and Duds. One player we want to give flowers to that has played very well. One player that needs to step it up. We'll start with Studs. Rode, I'll start with you.
The baddies have not been sitting field side. I'm going with Drew Smith. He has been great. He has a new hard slider. I can't believe I'm saying this. He has made adjustments, real, actual adjustments. And he's been commanding a lot better. So he's a 0 ERA. It is April. It's April. We know that he tends to pitch well in April.
He's Mr. April, yes.
I'm glad to see him make actual adjustments that I think will really help him. You know, he really battled against the Braves in that first game.
All right, Mickey Callaway, relax. He battled.
He battled hard. He made some good pitches that Acuna spit at.
I thought that was Rojas' thing.
Yeah, that was Rojas' thing. No,
Yeah.
that was also Buck's thing. That was all our manager's thing.
I think they passed along the message of like the cliches, you know, the Mike Tomlin type of shit. You know, Reggie Jackson is Mr. October. Derek Jeter is Mr. November. Drew Smith is Mr. April.
I think we're going to do something here that doesn't normally happen in Mets weekly land, but I think this guy was my dud last week. DJ Stewart is now my stud this week. So, and again, I was hard on the guy. I was hard on him on here. I was hard on him on the X/Twitter app. I said he can't play, bona fide scrub. But I'm really impressed. It wasn't so much when the Mets were killing Atlanta, but that other game, the Mets, when we hit the home run. Like, listen, if you do something for me in Atlanta, against Atlanta, win a ball game, you're good in my book. You know, like, we're good. So I got to give him props because I think he was on his way out potentially with how bad he was playing. Now he's got a second win. Like, okay, now all right, let's see what happens here. Like, give him another chance.
Listen, I think that as for my studs, I do want to obviously give some honorable mentions to Nimmo and Alonso. They've really woke up this last week, and it's been good to see, obviously, as two of the top contributors in this offense. I also could say Jeff McNeil, but I'm not a nice person, so fuck that. But I obviously have to give the stud to someone who has been able to do something that starting pitchers have not been able to do, and that is go 6 innings. Jose Budo. What an outing this week. This guy's a new pitcher. There's one thing that you can take away from his start today and his start against the Tigers earlier this season. He has earned his spot in the rotation. There is no reason that he should be sent down unless he gets completely blown up for 10 runs the next start. He's a rubber arm, like I've said multiple times. And he is probably the best chance right now for us of getting length. So let's go to the duds. Rhoda, go back to you.
Yeah, not to make it too obvious, but Sean Manaea. I mean, who else could I really put here? No one else has really been. It's been a good week for the Mets. Manaea really just does stand out. He really struggled. I really do think he can definitely bounce back next start. I expect him to. Let's just put this behind us.
I have to pick him because of where he bats in the order. It just has to be Lindor. I think that, we've been talking about David Stearns, and as far as again, I always go back to opening day because that lineup was just weird. The more I think about it, that lineup was really, really weird, the order. And you see how it's just a totally different lineup now. It's more so been like the hot hand plays from the top of the order. The guys are struggling and go to the bottom half of the order. Lindor is staying at that number 3 spot, even though he's struggling. And I think that it's tough. You know what I mean? You have him sandwiched in between Nimmo and Alonso. He's just I don't know. I just find there's so many, as the number 3 here, there's so many big opportunities that you have, and to not have a hit with a run scoring position, it's glaring. You know what I mean? Obviously he's been struggling, so it's not a surprise to anyone. Oh wow, just kind of kick the horse while he's down, so to speak. But it's more so that if they just want to put him low in the order just for a little bit, just bat him 6 or something like that. Just I don't know. I know that you don't want to totally hurt his confidence, but at the same points, we have to win games, and it's maybe if he's in more of a situation with a little less pressure, maybe he could actually perform a little better. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to totally kill the guy, but I just think that when your number 3 hitter is struggling that bad, it's just very glaring, and the Mets have been able to overcome it so far, but it's tough to win though.
I think it is pretty glaring as to with Lindor. I mean, he needs to get better. I mean, he needs to be better. I mean, at the end of the day, we've been put in some situations where, like I said at the beginning, it seems like everybody has kind of got off their cold streak except Francisco Lindor, and it's kind of just being a little bit more glaring because he seems to be the only key piece really struggling as of right now, following that Atlanta trip, following this Kansas City series. And, he's a key piece to this offense. He really is. He's a key piece to this team. And I mean, listen, I still believe that he will get going. I still believe he will be good. At the end of the day, Lindor, we're running out of excuses for you. Let's just say that. Fans do have every right to be upset with how he has performed again, like we said last week. But I think that this is pretty much low-hanging fruit for my dud. I'm going to go with Julio Teheran because that was pathetic. We brought him in. I was expecting to get maybe 4 or 5 innings away from him. Maybe he keeps you in the game. Obviously, we came back and won. But let's just say that's not the pitcher you want against the Braves. I'll just say that. Julio Teheran, just like guys like Adrian Hauser, who also you can mention as a dud this week as well, he needs to keep it on the ground or he ain't going to succeed whatsoever. Your rapid fire stories for this week. Former Mets pitcher Julio Teheran has signed a minor league deal with the Cubs after being granted his release after being designated for assignment following his Mets debut in Atlanta. The Mets have traded relievers Michael Tonkin and Yohan Ramirez for cash considerations. Ramirez was DFA'd earlier this week before being traded to Baltimore. Tonkin was DFA'd following multiple high-leverage blowups being dealt to Minnesota. The Mets have acquired catcher Joe Hudson from the Cubs for cash considerations. Hudson is 32 years old and has played a total of 18 career MLB games as a part of 9 different organizations. The veteran catcher has been assigned to Double-A Binghamton. The third game of the Mets' 4-game set in Atlanta will be made up on September 26th. The originally scheduled game on April 10th was postponed due to rain earlier this week. Former Mets catcher Jerry Grote has passed away at the age of 81. Grote was a key part to the Mets' 1969 World Series team with all-star selections in 1968 and 1974 throughout his 12 years with the Orange and Blue. Parting words for episode number 48 of the Mets Weekly Podcast. Nope, not even going to do it. Not even going to do it.
Didn't my other buddy wear it? My 06 friend that I don't want to say his name either. Didn't he also wear that number?
No. Hold on.
I think that number's cursed. If there's a number that we could retire but not put it in the rafters, I think it might be that number.
Hopefully by next podcast we're above 500. That would be nice.
That'd be awesome. You're correct. Oh boy. For those of you who are wondering who we're talking about, we're not going to mention it.
Yeah.
But I will say who we're not going to mention, fuck that guy.
I talked earlier about how, teams that we thought weren't great so far have great records. As far as like who the Mets played in the game, it's like, we're talking about Milwaukee and Detroit. They're not that good. Look at their records. And same thing with Pittsburgh. They've been a real big time surprise so far. So, it's still a tough week for the Mets. You go against the Pirates, who have been better than expected, and then you're facing the Dodgers, literally an all-star. Finally have an actual off day this week on Thursday. They had kind of an off day last week with the rain, but it's going to catch up to them at some point. So they are about to complete that stretch we talked about, the 15 games in 14 days. So I think props to them when it's all things considered. But again, I'm just looking for them to kind of continue what they've been doing, really. I mean, this past week, they've been in every game, really, other than, the Kansas City game at the end. But they've really, even if they've got blood runs, they've shown a lot of fight. And that's what it's going to take. Right now, Pittsburgh's playing well. Against the Dodgers in Los Angeles, you're going to need a whole lot of fight to be competitive.
Very encouraging week, let's just say. And, I asked last week to make it a little bit less stressful than the one before and then the one before. Let's aim for maybe a little bit less stressful of a week of games. Who knows? I mean, we do have the Dodgers coming up, so probably not, but I'm hopeful. Let's just say that. We did well against the Braves. Maybe we'll do well against the Dodgers. But before the Dodgers, I will say Wednesday, I'm going to Citi Field, so I can't wait. It looks like I got Severino lined up for that. And also Bailey Falter, who I believe the Mets have destroyed in his career. So I'm hoping to see an offensive explosion. To be honest, I don't really care about the game. I'm only there for the dance team. But other than that, we'll see you guys next week for episode number 49. 48 is in the books. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. For all of you listening on our listening platforms or watching on YouTube, watching on playback, make sure to hit the like button if you have not already. We don't say that enough. Let's go Mets, guys. We'll see you guys next week.